Greetings! Welcome back to Couch Critic. Dennis P. back sat here on my couch finally and still musing Chelsea Football Club. But before I get into that Cardiff City and Brighton Hove Albion review, could you please do me a big favor and hit that like button, that subscribe button, and that bell notification button to keep up with the latest and the newest. Now this week you're in for a real treat. I'm going to do something different from my previous videos. I'm going to quickly break down the two matches. And then for the second half, I'm going to invite on a special guest, my buddy Dan Silva from the Chelsea Fancast, Chelsea Trust. And we're going to dive into some of the other issues that are surrounding the club currently, whether it be Maurizio Sarri, the transfer ban, player movement, all sorts of things, and basically highlight the areas in which Chelsea need to improve going forward. But let's get right into it. Chelsea versus Cardiff City of the weekend, a game that was surprisingly finished 2-1 to Chelsea. Really was a crazy match. I mean, despite having all of the possession, Chelsea never really looked threatening at all. I don't think they created any scoring opportunities. And that was mainly down to the fact that they weren't really moving the ball effectively. Right from minute 1 to minute 90, I thought Chelsea were very ineffective at moving the ball with any sort of incisiveness or pace to affect the defense. And as a result, as we've seen multiple times this year, last year, the previous years, whenever Chelsea encounter a defense that's very compact, they have a very hard time breaking them down, and that was no different at the weekend against Cardiff City. Let's be honest, we got very lucky. The first goal, Spilicueta's equalizer, was clearly offside, and I don't know what the linesman was looking at there, but he was at least 2 feet offside, and we got the goal credited. And then from there, a beautiful finish from Ruben Loftus-Cheek from across, and it's 2-1 Chelsea, and we walk away with 3 points. Not that we deserved it. I don't think that we did much in that match that warranted us getting all 3 points, but you know, as I said, Lady Luck was on our side. Much of the consternation from the supporters came right from when the lineups were read out, and we didn't see Hazard, we didn't see Conte, and we didn't see Hudson-Odoi, who a lot of people wanted to see, especially after an impressive international break where he broke through and did well for England. I mean, I wasn't too bothered by it, mainly because I figured Maurizio Sarri was thinking about the mileage on the legs at that point, and Hazard and Conte in particular played 2 matches during the international break, and Hudson-Odoi basically didn't have the time to train with the team while he was away with England. So the likes of Pedro, you know, Willian, and say even Kovacic, who did not go away for the international break, they were there working with Sarri for the entire 2 weeks and had more match preparation. I anticipated that because we had the next game against Brighton Hove Albion, we're going to see those changes come in. And they did. On the match itself, I thought Pedro, Higuain, Rudiger, and Alonso were particularly poor. Once again, Alonso just looking lost on that left flank, and I don't understand to this point in time. I just don't get why he is still being picked regularly. This is my bone of contention with you, Maurizio Sarri. Please, let's just divorce ourselves from this idea that Alonso is necessary for this 11 to function. He's not the cog that we need in there right now. Not that Emerson has been the answer for the most part either, but he provides more. For my liking, I'm not too impressed with Rudiger. I know many Chelsea supporters look at him to be the next big center back at Chelsea. You know, he's got great stature and he's also got the right sort of mentality, but his application has been awful this year. His ball distribution has been really poor, and his reading of the game is slow. And it's very noticeable when you're a defender, because as soon as if you're a split second late to make a decision on the ball or on a man, it usually leads to a goal scoring opportunity. Time and time again, I've seen Rudiger fall victim to just making poor decisions, not only on the ball, but off the ball in terms of his reading of the game. So as far as the next center back at Chelsea right now, I don't like what we have set up right now. I don't necessarily believe that Rudiger is the answer, and obviously David Luiz is, definitely approaching the end of his career. And I haven't seen enough of Christensen to make a true evaluation. Last year he was decent, but he's very much mistake prone as well. Maybe that comes down to him just getting more opportunities and experience to find his game. But right now I'm just not steady there. I'm not feeling good about our defensive rotation right now. In the case of Gonzalo Higuain, man, did I get that wrong. I made a bet with a friend of mine that I'd anticipate him to come in and basically just through being a center forward that has scored goals in the past, he'd be able to bang in 10 goals for us this year. And he looks lost out there. And his finishing is just not there right now. He's just lacking match sharpness, it seems like, and the cohesiveness that you need to, and confidence also that you need to score goals. is just not there. I had the opportunity to guest on the London is Blue podcast before the international break, and I was just livid at the fact that, after scoring a hat trick in midweek, that, somebody like Giroud doesn't get an opportunity to play again the following week. For me, it's all about confidence for a striker. If you score a hat trick, you're automatically getting a start for me next week or in the next fixture. And right now, we're not seeing enough from Gonzalo to warrant him being an automatic starter. It's these types of decisions that I think frustrate some of the supporters when we're looking at what we're getting from Maurizio Sarri. His rotations haven't really been good all year long. And the decisions to play people that are out of form has really, really diminished the opinion of supporters about how he sees football. It's to his detriment, as we've seen, even in the weekend in Cardiff, like how loud was the calls for "we want Sarri out" and F off Sarri and all that stuff. So I think that those are the things that mainly are, part of the reason why, the supporters have turned against him. But we move on. We escape with the 3 points at Cardiff City, and then we're home to face Brighton Hove Albion. And to be honest, it was night and day, the performance at the weekend versus the midweek performance. But for me, the turnaround was twofold. Obviously, Eden Hazard coming back in the game was huge, but coupled with Hudson-Odoi, Giroud coming in for Higuain, we had Ruben Loftus-Cheek coming in, and also Emerson in for Alonso. All these things were huge keys to seeing Chelsea start playing the right sort of football and finding the right sort of application to break down Brighton Hove Albion. But on the flip side, I say a lot of that was aided in the fact that Brighton Hove did not set up correctly, and their game plan I was non-existent as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, they were compact and deep, but they didn't take away any of the things that we like to do on the pitch. In particular, and the key to the match for me was Jorginho's ability to get on the ball and dictate the tempo once again. And we've seen it many times before. If Jorginho gets time and space and is able to really pick apart defenses, we are going to be successful. If I'm not mistaken, he had about 160 passes and completed 94% of them, not just sideways. He was also getting the ball forward. I believe that his long ball distribution was 9 of 11, which is impeccable. As I said, he's adjusting to the pace and power of the Prem. And when he's given that time and space, we're seeing why we paid 60 million or whatever it was to get him into the side, because he's integral to getting the ball moving and getting us playing football. The second aspect of Brighton Hove's setup, which is even more puzzling than the first, was their defense of the flank. I mean, time and time again, which was puzzling to me, I saw Eden Hazard isolated against the oldest defender in the Prem. Bruno, I believe his name, was 38 years old, and he got no help a lot of the time. It was strange to me to see a guy like Eden Hazard, like an animal, like a killer like Eden Hazard, getting isolated against a guy that, clearly needs help at this stage in his career. And conversely, on the other side of the pitch, Hudson-Odoi had his way with the left-sided midfielder, who was at first was Solly March, but then they brought on Knockaert because March got injured, and Knockaert was just immediately, upon coming onto the pitch, was put on skates by Hudson-Odoi, and it was just puzzling to me. Why are you leaving Hudson-Odoi isolated against your left winger and not providing any sort of support for him? And both of our really good goal scoring opportunities were credited to Hudson-Odoi in the first half. He got to the byline really well and just used his dribbling ability to great effect. Those are the two things that I noticed in the first half that were largely down to just setup. Obviously, Chelsea's most dangerous when, first of all, Jorginho's in possession, and then second of all, when Hazard and whoever the winger is on the other side has the ability to go one-on-one. But lastly, I thought that the interplay and also the understanding between Hazard, Giroud, and Emerson was evident today. They obviously had an understanding on the pitch. Emerson's overlaps were very effective and also provided more space for Hazard to go one-on-one. And they were able to, play off of Giroud a lot of the times. A lot of those 1-2s didn't quite come off, but you can see that they're all on the same page and all were working towards the same sort of things. And, it's evident that those three have a better understanding on the pitch than, say, Alonso, Hazard, and Higuain, for instance. And I'd like to see a lot more of that because, you know, that's the area of the pitch that we need to exploit the most because that's where we have our best player. And I'm going to throw actually Ruben Loftus-Cheek into the mix on that as well because he also did a great job of linking up in that area as well. His goal was just, you know, just below a golazo as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, I know we're managing his minutes right now because he has a sore back and he has chronic back problems, so we have to manage his minutes. But the more we see him on the pitch, the better off we're going to be. I think he's a fantastic player and like one of those guys that like, you know, doesn't really say much, you know, just went about his business, and now he's becoming like one of those staples in that Chelsea side that we want to see week after week after week. Brilliant on the ball, good striking of the ball, great passer, drive, you know, pace, all these things that we want to see from our midfielder we're seeing from Ruben Loftus-Cheek right now, and it's to his credit, man. He's put his head down and just worked. But I think I'm going to wrap up this first half of the video right here. I'm going to come back with the second half with my man Dan Silver. We're basically going to dive into, you know, the club as a whole, you know, this big black cloud that seems to be hanging over our head right now. Mr. Sarri is the right guy for the management position or coaching position, however you want to look at it. What's going on at the board level, you know, our transfer ban, you know, our buying, like have we put in the right sort of like, you know, have we made the right sort of buys the last few years? It's stark as far as I'm concerned when you look at what we've done in the past. But yeah, like I said, we're gonna wrap it up there, and I'm gonna come back with Dan Silva. So stay tuned, hold tight, and put this one out today, and hopefully I'll get the Dan Silva one out by tomorrow. But as I said before, up the Chelsea and keep the blue flag flying high.